I'm here today with Benjamin Fry, the BBC's psychological coach on Spendaholics. He's involved in psychological makeovers for individuals and regularly features on TV and radio. Why do you think that the nation's spending the amount that it is at the moment?
Well, there can be a number of reasons for problem spending, and in my experience many of them go back to pre-existing problems that people are using money as a vehicle to kind of articulate their pain in a rather confusing sort of way. And it is almost as if money has now become like a drug, that people can get hold of it a lot easier. And therefore some people choose to use money as their drug of choice.
What do you find the most challenging aspect of your job?
The most difficult people to work with are those that find it the most difficult to really take on board how much they've sabotaged their lives through their behaviour with money. These people I'd characterise as being quite seriously in denial. They're usually in denial about what the money is really going to do to them. They're also usually in denial about why and where it came from and what the real source of their problems are.
How do you help people control their spending?
Well, my technique for working with people who have spending problems is to try to help them understand the real cause, the real source of those problems. And to do that, I basically just go with them on a journey into the past and into their own mind and give them some company and some help and hopefully a little bit of expertise so that they can feel more comfortable looking at things that previously they have been too afraid to deal with.
Do you believe that people's bad spending habits stem from incidents in the past?
My experience of working with people with extreme spending issues has been that by focusing on what they're really trying to say and what they're really trying to say about, they've discovered that really the spending almost automatically just goes away if they're addressing the root cause of the problem honestly and openly and effectively.
Would you say that there are particular indicating factors for people who have bad spending habits?
Yeah, I think it depends on who you are and what you've been through and how you've dealt with it.
Yes.
So there's probably nothing generic in that.
How do you advise someone to avoid getting into debt?
I think if you're worried that debt is beginning to become a problem in your life, and if the usual strategies of simply doing a budget and controlling yourself aren't working, then maybe it's a really good idea to start thinking about whether there are other things going on in your life that you need help with. Often people are overwhelmed with stress at work, stress in relationships, or they haven't dealt with some of the issues that might come up from the past. There are many places you can go for help with this, and if you're finding that money is really getting away from you, then start to look in other areas for solutions for deeper problems.
Would you say that women spend more than men?
I think what's clear about the genders is that they spend in different ways. Women typically tend to be quite interested in transformational activities such as makeup and beauty ideas and products and hair and clothes. Men, perhaps more generally, are interested in symbols and objects and tools such as gadgets or cars or technology. And I think this represents a fundamental difference in how men and women derive their power in life. Women often get rewarded for being beautiful and men often get rewarded for being resourceful. So while that remains the case in society, I suspect we'll continue, generally speaking, to respond in that way.
Do you think that the media contributes to excessive spending habits?
It's definitely been a trend in our society over the last 15-20 years to try to make every individual believe that they can live almost like a king or a queen. The kind of glossy magazine, Hello magazine revolution has let everybody know about every detail of a celebrity's life. And these are things that people can then begin to fantasize about mimicking. So it becomes almost as if an ordinary life isn't worth it and can't be bared. And when you add into that the availability of credit that's come in the same time frame, it is a potent cocktail working on people's insecurities and giving them a way to temporarily buy their way out of those insecurities.
Do you think credit card companies are to blame?
I think credit card companies do what they need to do to make money, and they hire very clever people to do their advertising who again do what they need to do to make money for their business. So unless there is a requirement on them to kind of counsel and help the individual who may be a problem individual, then they'll just do what they need to do and do what they want to do. I think one of the problems for them is that they are accused of getting people into too much debt, and yet it's only a small percentage of their customers who are using debt irresponsibly. So they do, on the one hand, provide a very desirable and useful facility and service for a lot of people, but it does open the doors for some people to spend problematically and to have serious implications for their lives.
What do you think can be done to curb spending in the UK?
I do think that if people were able to second guess their spending impulses a bit more intelligently, that they'd have a chance of realising that yes, there is something that they want to deal with, there is something they want to change, there is something maybe they want to avoid, but that spending money won't necessarily achieve it. Because unfortunately, once the money's spent, you can't get it back, and yet the reason that you spend the money for can often remain. So when money becomes a behaviour rather than just a tool, the earlier you can diagnose and address that behaviour, the less money you'll spend wasting chasing yourself around in circles. And that's really the key here, is to get people aware, second guessing their motives, thinking twice, taking a day off before they make that important compulsory purchase, and just getting a greater sense of awareness of what money can really be about rather than what it's just used for.
That's perfect. Yeah.
That's
wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Why do you think that the nation is spending the amount that it is at the moment?